rebuilding process with stunning detail. Marta couldn't resist reaching out to him. When they met, artist Joe was as kind and thoughtful as she remembered. He had found success in his art, and though the war had scarred him, he had used that pain to fuel. "I'm happy for you, Marta," he said softly. "You've built something beautiful." Humanitarian Joe had always been dedicated to helping others, and even after the war, he continued his work. Marta followed his efforts from afar, admiring the way he had thrown himself into rebuilding communities across the country. When they finally crossed paths, it was at a charity event. Humanitarian Joe was as humble as ever, focused on the people he was helping rather than his own success. "You've built a beautiful family," he told Marta, his eyes filled with warmth. "That's the greatest work of all." As Marta reconnected with the other Joes, she found herself reflecting on her journey over the past few years. She had once been so confused, unsure of which path to take. But now it all made sense. Every choice, every moment had led her to the life they had built together. Looking at her family, Joe and Andri, Marta felt a deep sense of peace. She had found her true match, and together they had weathered the storms of life. Now, ready to embrace the future with hope and love. With the war and the country slowly healing, Marta and Joe looked to the future with optimism. They had plans for their family, dreams of building a new home outside the city, and hopes for Andri's future. Though the road ahead was still uncertain, they knew they would face it together, just as they had faced every challenge before. Their love had been tested and had grown stronger with each trial. Now, they were ready to joy, peace, and endless possibilities. With the country rebuilding, Joe began considering new ways to contribute. His work at the hospital remained important, but the experiences of the war had inspired him to think beyond his medical practice. He discussed the idea of opening a health clinic in one of the most devastated areas, a place where people could receive care regardless of their financial situation. Marta supported him wholeheartedly. Joe's heart was always with helping others. "This clinic will be a gift to the people," she said. Together, they started planning, and Joe's vision for a brighter future became clearer with each passing day. While Joe focused on the clinic, Marta found herself drawn to the children of the war-torn community. Many of them had lost family members, and the psychological scars of the war were evident. Marta decided to start a community project, an arts program for children where they could express their emotions through creativity. With artist Joe's connections and help, the program quickly gained momentum. Marta felt fulfilled watching painting and storytelling. It became not just for the children, but for the entire community. Marta had found her purpose in rebuilding not just homes, but hearts. After months of planning, Joe's clinic finally opened its doors. It wasn't a grand facility, but it was a beacon of hope for the local community. People who had been there for years now had a place to go, thanks to Joe's tireless efforts. On the opening day, Marta stood beside Joe as the first patients arrived. There were tears in her eyes as she watched her husband help those in need. "You've done something incredible to him." Joe smiled and hugged her. "We did this together," he replied. They knew the clinic was more than just a building. It was a symbol of their dedication to healing their country. One evening, while Marta and Joe were relaxing after a long day at the clinic, Andri stood up, wobbled for a moment, and then took his first steps. It was a small, shaky walk, but it was enough to make Marta and Joe jump up in excitement. "He's walking!" Marta exclaimed, tears of joy streaming down her face. Joe scooped Andri into his arms, his heart swelling with pride. In that moment, they both realized how far they had come, not just as individuals, but as a family. Andri's first steps symbolized a new chapter in their lives, one filled with hope and promise. Marta's art program for children had become a resounding success. Neighboring villages brought their children to participate, and soon the small program outgrew its initial space. Seeing the positive program had on children, Marta and artist Joe decided to expand. They collaborated with local artisans and teachers, creating a full-fledged arts center where children